The title for this morning's forum is Reimagining the Northland's Energy Landscape, a conversation to reimagine our region's energy landscape as Minnesota Power prepares to submit its next long-term energy plan to the Public Utilities Commission. This will be an educational, interactive, and action-forward conversation about Minnesota Power's upcoming long-term energy plan and how communities across Northeast Minnesota can advocate for a clean and equitable energy future. And our esteemed presenter and a good friend of mine today is the wonderful Jenna. Is an organizer with the Sierra Club advocating for a just transition to 100% clean, equitable energy in the Northland. Jenna is an active member of the local Showing Up for Racial Justice chapter, the Duluth Community Garden Program, which she has just become the co-chair of as a board director, and an activist for healthy communities through housing, transportation, and food justice. Jenna is a year-round cyclist, an avid reader, and the biggest fan of good coffee, and she lives in the Denfeld neighborhood with her partner, Chris, and wacky pup, Megs. So at this point, we are so honored to have you here, Jenna. Thank you so much for joining us, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Brett. So this morning, would love to give from my perspective and my experience an overview of Minnesota Power, our utility here in Duluth and across Northeast Minnesota, what their upcoming integrated resource plan and IRP means for us as electricity users and customers of Minnesota Power, and how we can make a difference in what that will look like in the coming years. What Sierra Club is asking Minnesota Power to include and prioritize in their upcoming long-term energy plan, their integrated resource plan, and how folks can get involved, make their voices heard, and hopefully we'll leave plenty of time for Q&A and conversation after I share. So thank you again. And I wanted to begin this morning with a grounding of what organizing means to me, because I am an organizer with Sierra Club in their Beyond Coal campaign, and to me that is more than retiring coal plants for the sake of environmental advocacy. To me, that means social transformation. And to me, as an organizer, I often ask myself, how are we using the transition to clean energy as a vehicle for social change? And as UUCD folks, I hope that rings true for you as well. How can we use that transition to get into deeper relationship with ourselves, with our communities, and with the natural world? So just wanted to ground us in that. And I love this quote by Adrienne Marie Brown, an organizer in the environmental justice world and many other worlds that intersect. The concept of organizing as science fiction is really beautiful to me, because we are dreaming of and scheming for a better world that we want to see. So that's where my heart is in all of this. And before we get started in like the more like nitty-gritty of who Minnesota Power is, what this like big process with the Public Utilities Commission is, I would love to just kind of like gauge the room and invite folks to engage with me. Who here in this room thinks about their energy? Do you think about it a lot? Do you not think about it? Do you think about it sometimes when you have to pay your monthly bill? Maybe when there's an outage? And I will scoot over to the chat to see what folks share, but please feel free to share in the chat how you think about your energy. Thank you, Teresa and Tom, thinking about it a lot. Thank you, Beth. Longtime habits of trying to save. Well, I will try to give the quickest snapshot. Thank you, Jan. The quickest snapshot of Minnesota Power, their business structure, their customer base, and their energy profile. And I will try to do that. Try to do that in a succinct and quick manner. So Minnesota Power is our region's largest industrial or investor-owned utility. They are private, they're a for-profit utility that generates and also distributes power to their customers across Duluth, across the Northland. And typically, the electricity from investor-owned utilities comes from a combination of, their own energy resources, but also from other utilities or other electric markets across the grid. And Minnesota Power is our investor-owned utility in our region, and its parent company, Elite Inc., is also based in Duluth, which owns Minnesota Power, Elite Clean Energy, BNI Energy, Superior Water and Light. I think there's one more, but because Minnesota Power, along with a number of other investor-owned utilities in Minnesota, like Xcel in the Twin Cities, are monopolies, they get to control the rates, they get to control how they produce energy, and who benefits and who is burdened by the energy that they produce and sell. But to compensate for their kind of monopoly status, we have state utility commissions. We have a public utilities commission, which is a body appointed to regulate electric rates and other aspects of their business models. However, commissions like ours, the Minnesota Public Utilities Commission, often falls prey to corporate influence and can be stacked with regulators who are more friendly to IOUs or investor-owned utilities than to us as electricity users. So IOUs really have been able to conduct business as usual for a really long time, polluting our air and water, advancing the climate crisis, harming public health, extracting wealth, all while asking customers to pay for it. And just to share a little bit of a power analysis of Minnesota Power as our monopoly utility in Duluth, they really hold enormous influence over the Northland's politics, over our economy, and its impact on climate and environment and communities, and controlling the electric users of our region. So they really dictate how electricity is produced, the rates, and their political power, of course, is bolstered by the state government, providing license to operate, as well as the municipalities that make up the utility service areas. So importantly, the city of Duluth remains Minnesota Power's largest municipal and residential customer base, and the city of Cohasset in Itasca County is where its remaining coal plants are located. So both of those cities have significant influence over Minnesota Power. It's just a quick power analysis there. To share a little bit about customers, Minnesota Power has about 110,000 residential customers, which is about 13% of its overall customer base. 35,000 of those customers are considered low income. So about a third of Minnesota Power's residential customers are asking for assistance with their electricity bills, and often have trouble paying their electricity bills. There are 15 municipalities across the Northland, including Duluth and Proctor, Two Harbors, Gilbert, Biwabik, Ely, Grand Rapids, Hibbing, some of the Iron Range cities. That's also about 13% of Minnesota Power's customer base. And importantly, there are 11 industrial contracts, so 11 industrial customers that Minnesota Power provides electricity to. And those folks are equate to about 74% of their customer base, so their sales, but actually use about 90% of the electric load that Minnesota Power produces. And that is because, and that difference is because those 11 industrial customers, which are taconite processing facilities, paper mills, pipelines, those are energy intensive trade exposed customers, EITE customers, and that is just a fancy way of saying that these industrial customers legally get a discount on their electricity bill because they use a lot of electricity. They are energy intensive. So it's very safe to say that Minnesota Power lobbies and has the backs of companies that use a lot of electricity, such as Enbridge, who was just permitted their Line 3 extension pipeline across Northeast Minnesota. And their bottom line really is to make money and not to provide an essential service. So their load projections actually include projects such as the expansion pipeline, Line 3. They include sulfide mining projects near the Boundary Waters and near Lake Superior watershed. So investing in these high energy and polluting companies and projects, Minnesota Power is really doubling down on the climate crisis and banking on mining and extraction. So we know residential customers, and that also includes small retail or like small businesses. That is included in the 13% or in the residential count.
Okay, and things like hospitals and universities also. So that's residential commercial. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I was trying to do the math and they didn't have a space for them. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for asking. And that's something that I haven't looked into. And if folks know more about that on this call, would invite folks to put that in the chat or to comment too. That is not I do not know. So thanks, Beth. And just to wrap up the this overview of Minnesota Power, you might have seen in the news that that Minnesota Power just announced that it has reached a 50% renewable energy milestone, and just want to question that a little bit here with you all. A lot of the clean energy progress that has been made by Minnesota Power has been either mandated through clean energy or climate legislation through previous integrated resource plans, which is a public process, or demanded through community-led initiatives, such as the Lincoln Park Solar Garden in Lincoln Park in Duluth, which has been led by our partners at Equilibrium 3. There's a solar garden now planned for Grand Rapids, and they just broke ground on that project, I think, a few weeks ago. And that has been spearheaded by the Itasca Clean Energy Team, which is a community-led group of wonderful volunteers. So this 50% renewable milestone, as Minnesota Power calls it, is really due to a lot of the people that have been behind this work over the course of years and years to push Minnesota Power to use more renewables in the Northland. And Therese, no, I work for Sierra Club. I do not work for Minnesota Power. And also to call out that Minnesota Power defines renewable energy sources as wind, solar, and hydropower. And they use quite a lot of hydropower. That's approximately 20% of their renewable portfolio right now. And according to the Minnesota's Next Generation Clean Energy Act, which was enacted in 2007, the hydropower producing over 100 megawatts of energy actually doesn't count as renewable. So if the state is looking at that 50% number, they'll say, well, you're not actually quite there yet. And the other half of Minnesota Power's energy portfolio comes from fossil fuels. They have Boswell 3 and 4, which are their coal burning units in Cohasset. And Minnesota Power also plans to add a fracked gas power plant in Superior, Wisconsin, in partnership with Dairyland Power. The Nemadji Trail Energy Center would cost customers over $700 million and add maybe an extra 1 million tons of carbon annually. So we have to be questioning that 50% number. So now we have an understanding of Minnesota Power as a company, who it serves, and its energy production. So I want to switch us over to talking about the integrated resource plan, which again is a public process held within the Public Utilities Commission, because that is the body that oversees our monopoly corporate utilities. And I like to frame IRPs as an opportunity to share our vision, customers, electric users, what our needs and wants are for our energy future. And so an integrated resource plan is something that's mandated every 2 to 3 years. That's something that all electricity providers in Minnesota are required to put together and share with the Public Utilities Commission. And it's a plan that outlines just how they're going to meet their customers' energy needs for the next 15 years. And the Minnesota Public Utilities Commission either approves with conditions or rejects entirely the integrated resource plan that a utility puts forth. So they really determine if Minnesota Power's plan meets its customers' needs, complies with existing policies to encourage renewable energy while ensuring reliable and the lowest cost electricity. And so why is this important? Well, it's a public process, and when Sierra Club first began organizing around Minnesota Power and trying to get it to shift from a 95% coal-based electric profile, they have used, Sierra Club partners, community members have used the integrated resource plan process to make their voices heard and to ask Minnesota Power through this process to commit to cleaner and more fair to customers, more fair energy resources. So all of those retirements from their 95% coal base, all of those retirements were decided through integrated resource plans. And with most decisions of monopolies who exist to just make money, that was due to external pressure, public outcry, challenging the utilities' image, of course, economic costs. Renewables are now a lot cheaper to build and to maintain than fossil fuel. Climate goals, legislation, all of that. So this regulatory space within the Public Utilities Commission is a place where the public can push Minnesota Power to retire its coal plants, to stop any new fossil fuel infrastructure, and to move to building more clean energy resources. So Minnesota Power will file their plan along with expert modeling and analysis showing that all of the alternatives that they looked at and assumptions that they've made, like different prices for solar or gas in the next 15 years. And organizations and individuals then have an opportunity to intervene by reviewing that analysis and submitting comments. So there will be rounds of comments that any organization or individual can submit and share. In the timeline, so this is upcoming. This is happening just around the corner. And also to share a little bit of background, although integrated resource plans are required every 2 to 3 years, the last Minnesota Power IRP was actually filed in September of 2015. And the current one that's due in the next month was actually scheduled for 2018. But Minnesota Power was given multiple extensions. And most recently, Minnesota Power had asked for another extension. So they have moved their deadline from October of this last year to February 1st of this year. So in just a few weeks now. So Minnesota Power will again file their plan on February 1st. That will be made public. And then folks such as Sierra Club and its partners, like the Minnesota Center for Environmental Advocacy, Fresh Energy, the Citizens Utility Board, and others will be engaging their members and their communities to submit comments to say hey, we like this part of the plan, we don't like this part of the plan, here are some alternatives to consider before making this official. And that's kind of a long process. There are a number of rounds of comments, and comments will likely be taken through this summer. But those dates are to be determined. So what are we asking for? What is Sierra Club and its partners and members asking Minnesota Power to include and prioritize as part of its upcoming energy plan? So we envision a future of 100% renewable energy that addresses the climate crisis, that keeps bills affordable, and that benefits Minnesotans. So to make that a reality, we're asking Minnesota Power to transition away from fossil fuels, and really engage community members and ask what do we want. So we're asking them to respond to the climate crisis, which with a 100% clean energy portfolio, actually naming a number, a goal, and a date, establishing a just retirement plan for their coal burning units in Cohasset, supporting workers and communities with a transition plan, stopping their plans to build the Nemadji Trail Energy Center gas plant in Superior. We're asking for fair costs for customers, making sure that residential customers and low-income customers are prioritized over the energy-intensive, trade-exposed industrial customers. We want equitable access to the benefits of clean energy. We want to see more community-owned solar gardens in Duluth and across the Northland. And then we want them to plan for and invest clean, smart electrification for transportation and buildings. And before we open up for Q&A, I just want to invite folks to think about what a clean and equitable energy future looks like to you. So thank you so much, everyone, for your time and energy. And I mean, this is a fantastic group of folks. You know so much and are all, I mean, you're doing it. You're already advocating and exercising your activism collectively, which is wonderful organizing. So thank you so much.
Well, we can all do more, and you've helped us get there today, Jenna. So thank you for making time and helping us learn and help further our action. And we definitely look forward to being in touch and continuing this momentum towards a clean energy future.